my name's Alexi, and we're at my home in Burlington, Ontario, in my backyard. I have 3 of my own pigs. I have a Vietnamese potbelly pig, I have a Juliana, and a Kuni mix. I also board and foster. So limited on the fostering and boarding because I have a smaller space, so I can take 2 boards at a time and 2 fosters at a time. Well, ever since I was a kid, I had like everything pigs. Like I've always just loved them. So when I finally was able to have the space to have my own, I got my little guy Hagrid, who's in the back, and it was actually an emotional support animal originally for myself because I have ADHD and high anxiety. And then after having him, I was like, you know, he needs a friend because he wants to do pig things. Like, I'm not gonna keep him like doing things for just me. Like, he wants to be outside doing pig stuff. So we got Maxie, and she was a rescue. She's our oldest girl, she's 6. And then we got Ginny because she was a foster and she was just not homeable. She was very, like far gone to be rehomed. She needs a lot of intensive work, so that's how we ended up with 3. But yeah, so it was originally an emotional support animal for myself, and I find them very therapeutic. Very, like, almost like looking at a horse. His eyes, they're just very relaxing. So I keep my pigs in my backyard in a, I guess, a section of it behind electric fencing and some wooden fencing. We have 2 old sheds that we've converted into indoor space for them. We use heat lamps and insulation in the winter and lots of straw bedding. And then, yeah, they have great foliage covering them. They've got grapes, they've got apples, they've got all the leaves they want. In the fall, when they all come down, they just slurp them all up, and it's they have a great time. But yeah, so they stay in our yard. And then 1 pig is a house pig. So the vision would be just to give them more space up to behind the garage. I would like to eventually have really nice wooden sheds, although I do like repurposing, so I don't know if I'd get brand new. I'd probably repurpose one and refinish it. I'd like to add some like decorations, like some pig themed stuff, some like kind of barn decor, just kind of spruce it up for them. Other than that, like, I think that they're pretty simple and easy to care for. They don't really require a lot. Most of it would be for me. I stick to 2 cups of vegetables or fruit a day. We give them hay 2 to 3 times a week, 4 times a week in the winter. We give them whole oats as like a rooting around kind of treat. They eat their mini pig pellets, which is basically designed for them, and that's their main diet. We don't feed any meats or anything raw, like no raw egg, no meats. And they get their deworming shots once a year, which I give myself. They go to the vet whenever they need anything or anything seems off. I kind of bug my vet a lot, actually. I'm always asking her questions and researching. And so, yeah, that's basically anything that looks a little off. I make sure that they're cared for and happy, and I can tell right away if they're more lethargic or something's off, and just make sure you have that vet. It's so important. I think that a lot of people have a misconception about pigs being dirty or having diseases when they're actually very, very clean animals. It's actually interesting how close their bodies are to ours in terms of digestion, and even when they get a flu or a cold, it's so similar. Like some of the medications they get prescribed, we actually get prescribed, which I always notice. I'm like, hey, that's, you know, the same. But in terms of just keep them up with their annual vaccines, keep them vet checked, and it's really simple. It's really easy. I've heard a lot of different things about feeding pigs meat, that it can cause different disease and that it's all around just not a good idea. So I just thought it's easy enough. I just keep them vegetarian. Oh, it's so important. You never know. It's like having a dog or cat. Like, would you get a dog and cat and not take it to the vet? It's the same thing. You want to make sure that they're healthy, that they're happy, that they don't, like, especially with us having fosters, like, you don't want to bring in anything and have all your pigs get sick because you don't know if, like, they have anything, right? You want to make sure they're healthy. It's just, even your kids, you take them to the doctor, right? It's hard to find a vet, but when you find one, it's great. So for 21 days, they stay in their own separate pen away from all the other pigs so that we can do an assessment of their behavior, make sure if they're neutered or needing to be neutered. They have to have their deworming, which takes 21 days to take effect. So it's just the general rule to not just instantly throw a pig in. They get to know each other through the fence. It helps with integrating because sometimes we can have fosters for a long period of time. Sometimes they get adopted right away. So you don't want to keep them isolated for too long, right? But yeah, that's just kind of the rule of thumb there. If I notice something that I haven't seen before, for example, our one girl, Ginny, she has a very large dip in her back, which I was concerned about, and she was so severely covered with mange that I wasn't sure if the bimectin would be good enough. She might need something else. So just things that I notice about them physically. Behavior-wise, the only time you can really tell if a pig is sick is if they're like more lethargic than normal, or if they're sneezing a lot. And as long as you see them every day, you should be able to tell when you need to call. Yeah, or limps or anything like that. And once I rule out, like I had my one girl was limping, and once I trimmed her hooves, she stopped. So if she hadn't have stopped, I would have called because they're very prone to arthritis. So that's also a concern. I would say just doing a lot of research beforehand, like any little thing that you could think of that you would need to know, I would research beforehand. If you're gonna get from a breeder, make sure you get a breeder that's willing to provide you with a lot of information as well. If you're gonna adopt, try and get as much background as you can on that pig and ask that person as many questions as you can. And then if you question anything like, why shouldn't I feed him meat, then research it. Just research like crazy. We have the outlet to research now, we have the internet, so it's great. Even the Facebook groups are great because you can ask other pig owners questions, and I myself respond a lot to people who ask questions, so just a lot of research.